When most people picture the Costa del Sol, they picture beach bars, sangria, happy hours and pubs. But what if you're sober? What if you're sober curious? Or you just don't want that your whole entire social life revolves around alcohol? Can you still move to Spain? Today I'm joined by Emma and Louise, the co-founders of Sober Socials. Sober Socials is a growing community here on the Costa del Sol for people who want connection, fun and belonging without alcohol. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us, Sandra.
I'm really excited to have you both here.
It's great to be here, thank you.
And I'm really excited to dive into this topic and bust some myths with you both today. Are you up for the challenge?
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Brilliant. So thank you for freeing up your time this morning. I know you're both very busy ladies, but I feel compelled to share your message with our listeners and those watching at home today, because in my opinion, sometimes Spain gets a bad reputation when it comes to how we socialise over here, particularly if we're sitting in expat communities. So, you know, I'm really grateful to you both for agreeing to come and talk to me today. So let's jump in. Now, before we jump into the topic, tell people at home a little bit about you both.
Well, I started coming to Costa del Sol in the 80s. My father was really into his golf, so when he discovered Costa del Golf, that was it. Every holiday was here, every holiday. So then it got to a point where I actually started coming here with my friends when I was a teenager and into my 20s. I actually started working involving Costa del Sol. And I always was saying to myself, one day I want to live in Spain, you know, and I would get back to England, the weather miserable. And then I thought, okay, well, what am I waiting for? So I reached out to my contacts here on the coast and got myself a job interview, and I relocated here in 2004.
Okay.
I met my partner here,
Oh, wow.
had my 2 kids here. And yeah, every day I'm so grateful for living on the Costa del Sol. I just, you know, it was the best move that I made.
Amazing,
so,
amazing.
Yeah.
So 2004, so like you're fully immersed. This is home now, Louise.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
No regrets?
No, absolutely
Amazing.
not. No,
I love it.
It was a good choice.
Fantastic. Emma, tell us a little bit about you.
So I had a bit of a different experience. I have lived out of the UK for 18 years now. We actually moved with my husband and I moved to Australia in 2008, and then moved to Costa Rica after that, and both our children were born in Australia. And we wanted to move back closer to family and European culture, and obviously Brexit helped shift that timeline a little bit. So we decided we wanted to move to Spain, even though I'd kind of grown up, you know, typical middle class family, thinking that Spain was maybe a little bit less than France and Italy.
Interesting.
I actually had my hen do, would you believe, in Benalmádena in 2001. If I ever thought I was going to move to Benalmádena at that point, I would have laughed in your face. I have to say I was a bit snobby about it. Actually, my sister-in-law used to run the Halfpenny Bridge in Benalmádena.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I've been here a few times on holiday, but if you said I was going to live here, I was like, I'm not going to live in Benalmádena. I'm going to live in Barcelona or Madrid or Valencia or whatever. Anyway, when we started looking in Spain, we went the length and breadth of Spain, desperately trying to avoid Costa del Sol, to be perfectly honest with you, but did end up moving here just over 6 years ago with my 2 teenagers and my husband.
Amazing.
And haven't looked back, and we're here to stay now. Very happy.
I love that your mindset completely shifted on Benalmádena,
Totally
and you did a complete 360.
Totally. And actually I did that about Australia as well, just so you know a little bit about that. But yeah, very happy now. It's perfect mixture for all of our family, so it's worked out really well.
Benalmádena is great for families. I need to give it credit when it comes to that. Well, thank you both for sharing a little bit about your background. So, Louise, we all know that there can be a certain stereotype when it comes to the Costa del Sol. People think of happy hour, they think of beach bars, Irish bars. At what point did you feel that, you know, this stereotype doesn't actually work for me anymore?
Yeah, so it was summer 2019 and we were in Tarifa holidaying with friends and family, and we found ourselves opening up the beach. It was like midday, and it's just like a flying comment from my partner who said, you know, it doesn't even feel like, it doesn't even taste like anything anymore, you know, I don't know why we're doing this. And I think what happened was it got to a point where drinking alcohol, it just was kind of like the the normality. It didn't actually mean anything anymore. So I said, you know what, when the kids go back to school, let's take a pause. And so September the 12th, kids went back to school and we stopped drinking, both of us. We didn't have any alcohol in the house, and the weeks rolled into months passed by, and we just felt okay about it. You know, it was just, you know, we started reading about alcohol.
Okay.
And that really was impactful. And yeah, just I think the fact that, you know, we're both in the same boat helped a lot. But here we are now, 6 years later.
Wow.
Another good choice, moving to Spain, and, you know, just got to that point in my life where just alcohol wasn't serving me anymore. It was just kind of like the norm, because of the day at work, beer, wine, more at the weekend.
Yes.
Just came a bit like, you know, humdrum. And yeah, I just had a wake-up call, and things just fell into place, and I've no regrets about the drinking, but this new chapter of non-drinking really serves me well, and I'm super happy about that.
That's incredible. But you mentioned something really important that I do actually hear a lot over here, and I have experienced myself, full transparency, more so than what I would have experienced when I lived in Ireland. Like, for example, at the end of the day, when I was working in Ireland, I never felt compelled to, you know, midweek to come home and open a bottle of wine and pour myself a glass of wine. But when I came to Spain, it almost became a dirty habit in my life, if that makes sense. It was almost more acceptable here, and it then starts to become a mundane habit and not a treat anymore. Why do we think that is? Is it because we're living in a more relaxed environment and alcohol is more acceptable over here? Or why do we get into these type of habits, do you think?
Well, because it's just repetition, you know, repetition, you've got those emotions. So for example, for you, it's getting, I need that to relax, switch off now. Yeah. And it's an easy escape route. So yeah, it's not your fault. It's very normal. And yeah, it's about re-educating and finding other ways to escape, you know, which might be, I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to call a friend, or, you know, so it's just kind of like replacing that habit with new habits. But yeah, it's very stereotype. And I have met so many people who come out here to retire and they're like, well, you know, well, I'm drinking because that's what you do. That's it. And that's the vicious circle. It's because you're drinking, you're not giving yourself the chance to find that passion, to find the time to reignite that love of baking, or, you know, art, or so many things.
That
because
joy.
Yes. So it's really that, you know, breaking and creating the new habits.
And I think the other thing is that people often have this association. As soon as the weather's hot, you kind of think holiday, and holiday means you can have more excess, eating, drinking, just having fun, doing stuff.
That's it.
And so it's breaking that association. Several people have said to me, what else is there to do apart from drinking? Because that's what we've got in our heads, that hot weather, that's what you do. You kind of give yourself permission to do that, instead of giving yourself permission to think, what about the myriad of many other things that you can do in a warmer outdoor climate? There are so many things that we can do. That's it. But our culture is so alcohol based, isn't it? It really is. Not just Spain, throughout the world, I think. So it's just widening our perception of all the other things that we can do, and saying it doesn't have to look one certain way, giving ourselves permission to think about life differently.
Absolutely. I think you're both incredibly correct there. And for me, the more and more I think about that, it is that association. It's like, okay, so maybe if you were living in the UK or Ireland, you know, the weather comes out, it's sunny, you turn on the barbecue, you have a couple of drinks. But the reality is, when you come to live in a climate like Spain, you know, especially if you're here on the Costa del Sol, you know, you have over 300 days of sunshine a year. Are you going to drink for those 300 days a year? So it's something I think that people need to think about before they come out here, in terms of what type of life do they want to live when they get here, because it's very easy to fall into that trap. And I've seen it happen time and time again. I'm sure we all have, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So what were you noticing about, I guess, your circles? Were people wanting to drink less? Were they wanting a different type of connection? Were you noticing this in the circles that you communicate in?
No. It was myself and my partner that felt we want to make a change now. And actually, I didn't know anybody who had gone from being let's say a habitual drinker, drinking most days, to stopping.
Okay.
Yeah, I had friends who were maybe, you know, sometimes take it or leave it kind of drinkers, but what we decided to do, I didn't have anyone that I could talk, you know, share that experience with. So it was only really through reading the books that helped me. And then later, a few months into the sobriety, I met another lady who was also a non-drinker, and built a really good friendship with her. And then how Emma and I met as well is also through just connecting because of this like-minded synergy. So actually, no, it's kind of like a bit of a taboo thing, you know, if people are thinking of stopping drinking, they don't really talk about it. So
Such a shame, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's just normalised, isn't it? And that's partly what we're about, is like normalising it being okay to not drink as much as it is to drink. And it's kind of weird that we have to have that conversation on one level, but it's just part, you know, I've been there certainly, that I would have been the one person saying, well, why aren't you drinking or whatever. But my experience was a little bit different in the sense that I just noticed as I was getting older, you know, British culture is so, you know, binge drinking at the weekend, that kind of stuff. It was just part of my life experience. And I just noticed I was getting into my 40s that it wasn't, you know, going down as well as it used to. And I was just feeling terrible a lot of the time, even just after one or two drinks. And so I just started to question this, and I didn't have anyone else around me that was questioning it, it seemed, but it just seemed to be impacting me. But actually starting to see things on Instagram, I don't know how, but I started to notice other people that were not drinking. And that kind of inspired me, actually, to think that I didn't know anyone else around me that wasn't. And it just made me think, actually, maybe there is another way that I can have my life. I was scared about doing that because no one else was. And certainly my husband was still drinking, but he wasn't impacted by alcohol the same way as I was. And then since I've done that, it's maybe opened up some conversations with people who've started to reevaluate drinking. It's not necessarily all or nothing. It might be that they say, okay, I'm decided I'm not going to drink during the week, for example, or I'm going to explore different options, or having a glass of water in between every drink, or that kind of thing. It's about finding what works for you. And I just noticed, for me, the best thing that worked for me was just not having it all together. And I feel liberated by that. And, you know, maybe it gives other people permission to start to think about their relationship with alcohol as well, and what works for them. It doesn't have to be one size fits all.
Absolutely, that's a very impactful message, you know, that normalization of the topic. And I totally agree with you. Like, why do we feel that need to justify? It's incredible, but we'll go more and more into that as we go through this incredible conversation. But okay, so you decided we're going to build something different, like that moment. Tell me a little bit about that. Who'd like to take this one?
I don't mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So we actually met by chance, as Lou's touched on. We met through Costa Women, actually. We saw online, I think there was a group talking about non-alcoholic drinks or something, and we both said something online, and then Lou reached out and we connected that way. And I was so excited to meet someone else that didn't drink here, because I was putting feelers out to see if I could find anyone else that didn't drink here, and didn't find anyone.
Okay.
And so we met, and that was it, really. We just connected in a way from the get-go, really, and started to have conversations. And when we didn't initially set out to create something different, but I think we both acknowledged that there was a huge gap here, that there was nothing like this. And so literally it was only in September, so literally a few months ago, that we said, hey, why don't we just experiment with trying to do an event and see what comes? And it's just kind of gained its own sense of momentum, hasn't it, from there, really?
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we connected because we have, you know, we hold our hands up and say, yeah, there's something that we've given up that has completely changed our life. And we're both very passionate about how good we feel for not drinking, you know. And also there's just like that kind of energy that you come across when you find someone that shares that passion. You know, it's kind of, it really goes deep. And, you know, you share your stories, and it's so cool. And then we were like, you know what, let's create a community. Let's find more of us. Yes. So that's what we decided to do. And we had this first event in La Cala de Mijas in October, wasn't it?
Yes.
Mix and mingle and mocktail and mingles. And yeah, it was such a great response from the media, and you know, we really enjoy it. You know, we're both working mums with both got kids and family, but you know, when you find your like little passion,
Yeah.
and this is a message that we really want to share, that, you know, if you're thinking about stopping drinking, or if you're stopping drinking, life's good. Come on, let's get together. Let's hang out, you know.
And I've been following you closely since you launched your events. And, you know, when I saw what you were doing, I was like, well done. Because there is a gap in the world, not only over here, in terms of when people are going a more sober, curious route or trying to find the shoe size that fits for them, they don't know where to turn to. So I really like that you're providing that support and almost helping people take off those stabilizers in those early days as well. So on that note, let's talk a little bit about what your events look like. So when people attend one of your meetups or they want to become more involved in your community, what can they expect?
Well, we do different types of events. We had the Mocktails and Mingle, which was an evening event, which was really fun. And, you know, we often find people are meeting each other for the first time, but there's just kind of like a nice synergy, isn't there? And we played some funny games, actually, like just icebreakers. We just don't mind having a good laugh, do we?
Totally. It's all about the fun,
It's kind of like that. There's no kind of, our inhibitions are just kind of like,
everyone's
because
welcome.
as we take, this is it, you know, and then the conversation sometimes gets quite deep. We had one lady that was actually quite emotional because since she stopped drinking, she noticed that her circles had kind of like shrank. So she was so grateful to be able to come and meet her. So we had that particular type of event. And other sorts of events we've got are...
we had a charity walk that we did last month in Marbella. We have got this month, which will have happened by the time we send this out, but we're going out for a seaside walk and just having a coffee and a chat and hopefully going for a swim in the sea, which I'm determined to do that regardless of rain or shine, but I'm not sure anyone else will be. And then we've also got events planned for next year. So they're very informal, like everyone is welcome to just come as you are. Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't have to be a certain way. You know, we've very much had to embrace the whole of ourselves, particularly now we're not drinking. So anyone just come, whatever your experience. We're actually going to have an online event as well in January, so people can come from, you know, from all over the world. It doesn't have to be from this part of the world. So and we're also looking at doing kind of more signature events, bigger events as well next year. So we've got lots of ideas and we're certainly open to ideas and exploration, but it's all about having fun, adventure, all the good things in life, particularly connection, which I think is so important, particularly as I've appreciated that as I get older as well. Without alcohol being at the forefront, that's all it's about essentially. And we'll just take it from there, really.
Oh, I love that. And you mentioned something really important there, Louise, because often when people are entering into this journey, their relationship with alcohol, it may be an old relationship, it may be an old familiar friend. And, you know, that comes with an identity, comes with lots of emotions. So I think what I'm trying to say is that if somebody is watching and they want to attend your event, but there is emotional baggage around what they're going through, it's totally okay. They can find a network at your events to be vulnerable if that's what they need. That's important.
Yeah, totally. You know, you'll find as people, if they want to share their story, it's a safe space to do that. But there's no pressure, there's no judgment, you know. If people are just at the stage where wherever they are on their journey, whether it's starting to think, because I mean, for me, for example, I'd known for a few years that I wasn't comfortable with my drinking habits. I was drinking too much
anymore.
Often on my New Year's resolutions, it would be must drink less. You know, so it just got to that tipping point where I was like, right, that's it now. You know, I'm ready to say no, you know. So that's where we're at. And absolutely.
Amazing. Amazing. But you have been gaining quite a lot of momentum, and that's what it looks like, at least for me on the outside looking in. You know, I feel that people are responding really well to what you're trying to do. You've even been on TV over here in Spain, which is incredible. You've had a lot of press activity, which, you know, says a lot in itself. How do you both feel about that?
Oh, I think it's obviously exciting. It's a bit daunting sometimes on a personal level as well, and not kind of envisaging even a few months ago we would be doing this, to read. So it's been a great experience, but I think it's maybe, I know it's an overused phrase, maybe it sounds a little bit over the top, but it's kind of captured some people's imaginations in some way. It's something new, there's a bit of a buzz about it. Yes, there is maybe a new consciousness opening up with people, particularly younger generations, who are making different choices in their life about well-being and alcohol and all those things. But I think it's maybe seeping into the wider culture as well, that people are making different choices. And I think particularly when you maybe get to midlife, in particular, you start to think about things maybe a bit differently, and certainly your health as well. And so I think when you put something new and fresh out there, it attracts attention, thankfully. And it's just what I love about it particularly is that, you know, just having different conversations. I went to a networking event yesterday in Benalmádena, and people just like, oh my God, that's amazing. And just saying, gosh, I've not been drinking for a while, or I've been thinking about what I'm going to do, and I've never met anyone that's been able to talk to me about that. I felt like there was no one else in the world doing this when I started not drink anymore. So to start to have those conversations, give people to have those kinds of conversations if they want to, or if they don't want to, that is totally fine. But it doesn't mean that life has to look one certain way. So I think, maybe that's part of the reason why it's generated attention. I think also, actually, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we, that the use of the word sober, which brings up so many connotations. I'll let you take that word.
It's really a word where you think sober, oh, so what, you're alcoholic? But it's just like, it is what it is. So, you know, no, we weren't alcoholics, but anyway, sober socials, it just was kind of an impulsive, and it's quite a bit of a shocking word, isn't it? So maybe that's the kind of like the, you know, why it's got that media attention. It's like, nobody talks about sober. You know, so like, hey, we'll just ride with this. And
that's really interesting in itself, isn't it? But I guess they feel like they often don't want to evaluate their relationship with alcohol, so it makes them question, sober, ? Is this a tag or a label that I want to wear? Which is really, really interesting.
And the other point I was just going to say on that as well is that maybe if you are going to a sober social, should we be out and proud about that, or should we be sitting in a dark room or in a cupboard somewhere, you know, feeling terrible about ourselves? And actually we're trying to reclaim that a little bit and say, actually, we're proud because it's transformed my life, my relationship with myself, with my family, and so many things, and I'm proud of that. And maybe we sound a little bit evangelical sometimes. It's not deliberate, but we, you know, it's just experiment and find what's right for you. And maybe that means reevaluating your relationship with alcohol, but it's, you know, it's not easy. We've been there.
Absolutely. So Louise, typically January is a time when people, they think about their relationship with alcohol, new year, new resolutions, they're thinking about cutting back or stopping completely. You know, how different does life on the Costa del Sol feel when you're sober or simply cutting back? You know, are there any tips or pieces of advice that you'd like to share from your own experience?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Costa del Sol is all about well-being. We've got this incredible weather. Enjoy the outdoors, enjoy your sports, your sleep's better, you wake up energized, you feel good, you make good decisions. You can really take full advantage of that. If you are thinking about not drinking, but you're worried about what other people might say, for example, then, you know, if you've got like a bit of a plan, if you've got, you know what to say. So you're going out with the girls for Christmas drinks and you don't really feel like drinking. Have your game plan. Say, you know, what you're going to say to them when they say, oh, come on, just have one. You might say, oh, well, you know, you tell a little white lie. You might want to say, you know what, medical orders, or I'm driving, or I've got a big day tomorrow, and think I'm just going to have a ginger ale, I'm going to have a tonic water with lime.
Absolutely.
You know, you've got to remember like why you want to picture your life as a non-drinker, alcohol free, and those reasons are personal to you. It's time to say no to being a people pleaser. You do what feels right for you, and you've got to just remind yourself about your why, and that can help you get through. But definitely having a game plan, because like you said earlier, if you're saying I don't want to drink, that's one of the only things that you have to justify. If you turn up at the bar and say I've stopped smoking, they'll pat you on the back. You say I'm not having a drink tonight, they'll say what's wrong with you?
Massively.
It's insane, you know. So be true to yourself, you know, about your why, and enjoy. You might go home earlier, you're not the last one dancing on the table, but New Year's morning, you'll wake up and you'll be climbing up La Concha. You know, so it's like there's huge benefits.
Last January, I went on my own journey to really reevaluate my own relationship with alcohol. And that meant entering into this year just with a complete reset. But I really had to plan, okay? And that meant researching the menus of bars and restaurants that I was going to with people to see what was there. It meant often me arriving first and getting a 0-0 gin to avoid those questions and difficult conversations. But I found it really hard because I felt initially I was avoiding social environments because I didn't want to have those conversations. And I didn't trust myself enough at the time because I didn't have the willpower where I was able to kind of say no. And when somebody would twist my arm, I would go, oh, that was kind of the habit pattern that I had been getting into up until that point when I was trying to cut back. But you're completely right. It meant having a game plan, and that meant being disciplined about that game plan and being a little bit more tougher in terms of where I wanted to go, whereas before I might have always been really open to go with the flow and say, yeah, we'll just go to this cafe or this bar. But I started to advocate for where I wanted to go because I knew that the menu in that venue suited me. But I think planning is key. If you don't have that plan, sticking to that why, sadly, in my experience, you will fail because it's too easy to have your, I guess, head turned, isn't it? So yeah, that was just like my own experience with that, and it did require just some research and planning ahead. Also, go ahead, sorry.
No, sorry, I was just going to say what I love about what you shared there was that you really thought about it, but you also knew yourself, you trusted yourself in that and said, okay, I know what my triggers might be and what I might do, and that requires some self-honesty, and sometimes that can be hard to do that, but then you can say to yourself, okay, I know that I will get my arm twisted, or we've all been there, so I will prepare in advance to think about that, think through. And just because you not drinking doesn't mean you don't want to go out, you don't want to have fun. But there are options, and it's growing, maybe not as much as we'd like it to grow. There are other options things that you can drink, and whether you're out, zero beer, I think, to be perfectly honest with you, I can't tell the difference between zero beer and alcoholic beer. But you can still go out and drink something nice. And I think, we're trying to advocate for having more options on menus as well. But if you're at home, you can still make yourself a nice drink. You can still have it in a nice glass.
Absolutely.
You can still put decoration on it and feel special. It doesn't have to look one certain way.
Absolutely.
And that took me a while to learn that, because for a while I just said, I'm happy drinking water. And it's like, I deserve to drink more than water.
Of course you do. And that's the thing. When you go out and you're social, you want a nice drink. You want to feel like you're having a treat and enjoying yourself. For me, it also went as far as, really looking ahead in terms of where I was shopping. So, finding out where in the area had a good selection of 0-0 alcohol options. And I love that on your socials, you're doing a lot of educating to those who are following you in terms of sharing with them where they could potentially find these great options in these areas. So there's lots of tips, isn't it? But it does require a little bit of self-reflection and being really honest about what you need. For me, it goes as far as even what time of the day am I doing my grocery shopping? Because if I go later in the day, will I want to swerve past the wine aisle and get myself a treat? But it's just really about really evaluating what works for you. But there is great options over here. There's venues with lots of non-alcoholic options and good supermarkets that have lots of options too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you pointed out to me Tanqueray Zero in Mercadona, which I was like, wow, that's okay. And we was in Malaga at the weekend and went in this bar, and they had this lovely San Miguel Zero Roja. It was really fruity. I was like, wow. So it's quite novel, isn't it? We're a bit behind in other cities on the non-alcoholic availability in most of the restaurants, but like Em said, let's see. I think tides are changing. You can get kombucha in a lot of places now in supermarkets. So yeah,
it's exciting.
It's
exciting.
There's a lady that I met some time ago, and her motto is keep the ritual, change the ingredients. I think that's a great mindset for it. Still go out. Don't feel you have to be reclusive, and just find, like you say, just find that non-alcoholic alternative, an adult drink. And so
and feel good about it. And have fun with it, I guess. Don't look at it so daunting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing as well, is that it doesn't mean you are a different person. You still want to go out and have fun. I think some people maybe have a preconceived idea. I still love going out and dancing and those things, and I think sometimes that shocks people. It's like, oh, you still want to dance even though you're not drinking? It's like, yes, it took me a while to get my head around that. Can I dance without having something to kind of lubricate myself to feel a bit more comfortable about it? But actually, no, I don't. I just have a great time and I enjoy it. And the next morning, I'm happy to get up in the morning and know that I haven't got this cloud over me for that day or the next day potentially.
Absolutely.
And that motivation in itself has been huge for me. particularly here, that, I want to be out and about and enjoying what all of life has got to offer.
That's it, because there's plenty to enjoy. Let's be honest, we live in paradise.
Yes.
So if somebody has just landed on the Costa del Sol and maybe they don't really know anybody yet, they're trying to build their social network, they're nervous, what's their first step to connect with your community and Sober Socials?
Well, I'd say they don't have to wait until they get here. You can, or even if you have no intention of moving here anytime soon, you can connect with us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook. We've got a website at sobersocial.es on socials and sobersocial.es website. We've got a newsletter as well. So yeah, just connect with us in that way. Yeah, we're very open and welcoming. And we've got events for everyone, whether it's in person, online, whatever you want to do. And yeah, just have a chat with us. We're both here. We haven't got anyone else. It's Lou and I doing it. And yeah, we just want to open the community to everyone and see what unfolds.
Absolutely, absolutely. What is the vision for Sober Socials in 2026 and the future?
Yeah, well, exciting events, building the community, making being a non-drinker normal, and just having fun being in that lifestyle. Yeah, we've got some big ideas for next year, and hopefully we can come and talk to you about them when we know more and share the news. But like Emma said, in the meantime, just link up to us on social media and keep in the loop, and hopefully we'll see more people join in the fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got ideas, but we're also not being prescriptive. We're trying to be very organic, very responsive, but also we're very open to collaborations with other communities, other people, other companies, sponsorship. We'd love to see more people involved in this. It's kind of like a movement, really, more than anything. So it's just like, see what happens.
Because community is so important when you do relocate, right? Like Emma, you run, Costa Women locally in Benalmádena. Those safe spaces for people to come and mix and socialise when they move to a new location. So important. Well, sincerely, thank you both for this discussion. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for leading a movement. It's really exciting, and I'm really excited to see how your space evolves and see what the future has in store for Sober Social. It's incredible.
Thanks so much, Sandra. Thanks.
Really, really exciting.
It is.
So, if you're watching this and you've made a New Year's promise to yourself to drink less, maybe take a little break or just live a little bit differently, and you're also thinking about moving to the Costa del Sol, let this be your reminder that you don't have to choose between a life in Spain and a life that feels good for your body and your mind. Remember, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to ensure that we can bring you more content just like this. Ciao for now. Thank you.